By the early 1960s, society still regarded marijuana as a narcotic used by people in the lowest socioeconomic levels. Nevertheless, in 1963, Timothy Leary began experimenting with LSD at Harvard. At the same time, the psychedelic movement began in San Francisco. These events influenced people throughout the country, particularly young adults. The great social movements of the 1960s created what one legal scholar has described as, quote, a general loosening of restraints imposed by the legal system on behavior with moral overtones. These movements included, of course, the civil rights movement, the free speech movement, the anti-Vietnam War movement, and environmentalism. Marijuana became a symbol of this counterculture. By 1967, marijuana use became associated with college students. These were college students from the middle and upper classes who had access to politicians and the media. By the late 1960s, marijuana use became more widespread beyond the counterculture. For example, some American colleges reported that 70% of their students were marijuana users. Marijuana use also became more widespread among young professionals, blue-collar workers, and Vietnam War veterans. Consequently, marijuana use became less identified with any particular race, class, or age, and marijuana was no longer associated entirely with radical politics and the hippie lifestyle. Consequently, by the early 1970s, the marijuana laws of the 1930s and 50s were widely seen as draconian. Police officers began to ignore minor violations, such as possession of small quantities and personal use. Judges handed down less severe sentences, and courts began diversion programs for first-time drug offenders. In 1970, 32 states reduced their penalties for marijuana possession.